Hi all. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. My name is Amira and my channel is all about trying new makeup, talking about new makeup, but also finding new and exciting ways to be inspired by the makeup you already own. If that sounds good to you, I hope you will consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed today's video, hitting the like button. Today, guys, we are going to talk about my favorite one and done shadows. I have a nice little mixture here. I have some that are actual singles, I have some that are creams, I have some that are powders, I have some from palettes. I've got something for everyone. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so I decided I want to start off with my single shadows. And when I say single shadows, I'm not talking about actual like single shadows. The ones that you buy and then you just put them in a magnetic palette. I'm talking about things like this. Like this one here is my Chantecaille. And this is the Luminescent eye shade in Burnished Brown with a little giraffe on top. How cute is that? Can you see that, baby? Things like this. So I do have single shadows, but ironically, I don't really reach for my single shadows, like the magnetic little singles, that often. I tend to honestly reach more if I'm going to use a single shadow for a cream or a liquid shadow. So there's a nice little hodgepodge here. Let's start off with the cream products first. Stop. I've talked about these a million times on my channel and I can't not mention them now because, again, this is about my favorites and what I reach for all the time. I'm going to show you my two favorite Too Faced liquid matte shadows, and these are they're called the Melted Chocolate Matte Eyeshadows, and this is the shade Warm and Fudgy, and this is the shade Chocolate Bunny, and I will swatch them on my hand for you. And I use these literally all the time. I tend to do more elaborate looks when I'm playing with makeup or if I'm filming and things like that, but in my everyday life right now anyway, I still wear eyeshadow palettes and things when I have the time, but when I'm just, I just don't have the time, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm reaching for, are these shadows here. So this one is the cooler toned one, so that is Warm and Fudgy, and then this is Chocolate Bunny. And what I love about these is that they just blend so nicely on the eye. Like you can layer them with things. You can, sometimes I apply them and I'll tap over a shimmer shadow or a glitter, something like that. I layer them over each other. They work really well layered over each other. I have another shade in the Melted Chocolate formula that is more of a burgundy matte. I don't use that as often, but when I want to do a complete look with all three, I usually go in with Chocolate Bunny, Warm and Fudgy, and then I apply the other shade, which I believe is called Chocolate Wine, on the outer corner to deepen it up. But these are amazing. I think these are some of the thing about Too Faced is I feel like Too Faced kind of shoots themselves in the foot with a lot of their gimmicky marketing, because they do have some really good solid products that are staples and things that I would recommend with no problem to people. But I think because of a lot of the gimmicky things, really good staple products like this get kind of lost in the shuffle. So these kind of came and went. I mean, they're still around. I believe they're still on their website. When I say came and went, is they released these, nobody really talked about them. They went on sale for a while, which is when I got them because I thought they were being discontinued. Then they weren't discontinued. But if you see these, pick them up. They're amazing. And I think there's like, 3 or 4 other shades as well. But they're all beautiful, easy to wear neutrals. And like I said, they blend like a dream. They don't set super fast, but they do set. And so you don't have to deal with creasing, which is a big deal, especially if you have oily or dry, oilier eyelids, or your eyelids have, your eyes are hooded. That's often an issue. I have a slight hood. So for me, having liquid shadows that don't crease is really important. Next up are 2 more liquid shadows. And these, I would say, are a bit more pigmented. And when I say pigmented, I don't mean that they are how do I put it? They're not more pigmented in the sense that you're going to get more color payoff. What I mean by it is that they're more intense. And so as a result, you have to use less. With these, you use just a tiny drop. This I apply all over my lid and I can blend for days and it'll be fine. But when you're using these Danessa Myricks ones, guys, you need a tiny bit, and a little bit goes a long way. So that's what I mean, is that they're just a bit more intense as far as the way the pigment applies over the eyes. So I have two shades here. I have the shade Exposed and Nude 7. Now I have a ton of these. I have a bunch of the nudie tones, but these are the ones that I reach for the most. And I am going to apply these on my hand here so you can see. I'm also going to show you how the other two from Too Faced have dried down, because they dry down darker than they apply. And you're going to see a theme here. You're going to go, those are kind of similar. So that is Warm and Fudgy, that's Chocolate Bunny. This is Exposed, and this is Nude 7. They're a bit more yellow. This one is a bit more yellower in tone, if you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom you guys in a bit more. There we go. This one's, it looks almost green on camera, but it's not. You see how it's kind of like that really beautiful neutral with a yellow undertone. How stunning that is. And Exposed on me has a bit more of a pinky rosy tone. So I like to apply this, and sometimes I'll go over it with like a shimmer or a glitter, but generally I like to apply these on their own. They are incredibly pigmented. I have some on my fingers, and this is going to be a pain to get off. These are quite pigmented and they set well as well, but these are intense and they are very hard to get off of the skin. So I'm going to be scrubbing my hand for a while just to get this off. But what I like about the Danessa Myricks range is that there is such a plethora of shades to choose from. She has incredibly bright neon shades. She's got your basic white and black. She's got a whole range of nudes, literally named like nude 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on. This is 7. I believe I have nude 5 and nude 6 as well, but I prefer nude 7 because I love the yellow undertone of this one. But what I like about that range is that there is so much to choose from. So if you see something that if there's a shade that you're kind of like, I'm looking for a brownie brown, but like cool tone brown, but not too cool, maybe a little more, you can probably find it in that range. I have one of her chocolatier browns. It's beautiful. What I like about these is they are multi-purpose. So not only are they good for the eyes, but you can use them on the cheeks, you can use them on the lips, whatever you want to do. Because and I think that's another reason why they're so pigmented. This is very much an artist's product, like something a makeup artist made because of the functionality, the multifunctionality of it. I've used these for shadows. I use them as liners. Beautiful, beautiful products. So yeah, I highly recommend these if you're looking for something that you want a wider range of options, but also if you want a more multi-purpose type of cream shadow. And this one is from Stila, and this is the shade Bust a Mauve, and it's one of their, I believe this is the, I think this is the, yeah, these are the suede shades. So these are the matte liquid shadows that they have that are similar to their sort of, the ones like, what's it called? Kitten something that's so popular. I have a couple of the shimmer ones too. There's a blue one that I absolutely love. But this shade is just a simple matte, but look how pretty that is. And you can see it's a little bit deeper. And in person, it's a little bit darker, but it gives this really sort of like soft, mauvey purple flush or wash on the eye. You can use it on its own, of course, and you of course can use it to, as a base and top it off with something. But with these shades, these are all shades that when I say one and done, I mean, I put these all over, I blend them out and I'm done. And it looks beautiful. I add a little mascara. I'm good to go. I might even do, if I'm feeling, if I'm feeling frisky, if I'm feeling fancy, I might do a little shimmer in the inner corner, but I don't all the time because sometimes I don't have time and sometimes I just want a really soft matte. I really love the look of a soft matte on the eye, blended all over, sort of washed out. It looks really beautiful and really soft, and I feel like it's one of those things that's like universally flattering if you find the shades that work best for your skin tone and with your eye color. I don't really go by eye color. I kind of wear what I want. I just try to make sure that there are colors that work for my skin tone and that will actually show up on my skin and look, flattering on me. But outside of that, I don't go by like, oh, it's for blue eyes or brown eyes or green eyes. I say wear whichever colors you want, when it comes to stuff like that. But For me, this is sort of like the range when I'm going for like mattes. I love these types of shades. Now, let's get into what I like to use when it comes to things that are a little bit shimmery, things that have a little bit of dimension and tone to them. These are the shades and the shadows that I reach for. So I previewed this one before. This is my Chantecaille in Burnished Brown, which is the giraffe. And this is from the first set, and I'll show you what it looks like here. This is from the first set of, turn this up, see if that helps a little bit. There we go. So you can see that it's reflecting so much because it's so shiny. But this is one of the first set. They came out with a set of luminescent eye shades. They were all different animals, sort of represented different animals. And this beautiful sort of pewter and gray and white packaging. Now, let me preface this by saying these are incredibly expensive and you don't have to spend this kind of money to get a really beautiful shade. But I do own these. I had my eye on these particular shades. I have 2 of them. Well, 2 of this collection and 2 of the last collection they came out with. I waited for these to go on sale. I waited like a year because they're incredibly expensive. These are about, I want to say $54 each, which is insane for a single shadow. I know I did not pay that amount. Okay, so I just want to preface this. This is a luxury product. You don't have to spend this kind of money. But again, I'm showing you what's in my collection and what I reach for and what I love. And, you know, we can always, you know, you can always try to find, like, dupe it out if you really are interested in it. Or you can purchase the real thing if you are fine with spending that money. Do you, is my point. Do you? So, Burnished Brown. What I love about this shade. What I love about this shade. When I say single shadows, especially when it comes to shades that are like metallics or satins, is I love a shadow, powder shadow, that can give the eye dimension using one shade. And what I love about this shade, and I will swatch it here. What I love about this shade is that it has this really beautiful luminescence, because it is a luminescent, to it. And what you can do is you can take a brush, you know, a traditional eyeshadow brush, you can dip into this, and you can apply it and blend it out. And what it will do is give you this beautiful satin with a, you know, satin vibe with a bit of sheen to it. But after that, after you've done that and blended it all out, you can take this shade, go in with your finger and tap it, and it will be so stunning and dimensional and shimmery. You can apply it with a wet brush, and all of these shimmers that you can get a hint of here come to life on the eye, and it will look like you have two or three shadows on in the same like tone that you've layered on top of each other. And it blends so beautifully. And then again, I go over it with either my finger or a wet, like I use a rougher 21, which is like that little flat brush. I tap it, I wet it, and I go in and I tap it on, and then I tap it a little bit more on my finger, and it gives me this look of I've put effort into my eye. Like when really all it took me was like 2 to 3 minutes tops to do both eyes. You know what I mean? So for me, this shade, it just functions as one of those shades that gives me more bang for my buck than just being a single shadow, because I can create depth, I can create dimension, it gives me shimmer, I can pull it back or I can turn it up. It is a very workable, malleable product, surprisingly. Like you wouldn't think it to look at it. It just looks like a really pretty shimmery brown tone. But there's something in the formula of this, and I think it's because of these really beautiful micro glitters that are in it. It has these really beautiful silver micro glitters that turn up when you intensify and layer the shadow. And you don't have to do that. You can go in softly and leave it like that, and it'll just give the eye a beautiful glow, as you can see here. Or you can go in with a wet brush or your finger and turn it up. And I would say this is a great day eyeshadow, but then when you want to like wear it out at night, take the same shadow, tap, 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 maybe do a liner, wing liner if you want to, but you don't have to. You could do just a really beautiful single shadow smoky eye with this. Next up is one of the Auric Smoke Reflex in the shade Entice, and I will show you what she looks like. It's this one here. Look how stunning that is. This shadow is beautiful. It also has a topper on the top that I don't really reach for all that much, and I'll show it to you here. It's beautiful, but I don't really reach for it that much. It's more of like a white with a green reflect to it. But the actual cream shadow, and I should have shown you guys this when I did my creams, but I completely just didn't even think about it. This is what it looks like. And this is it on the, I mean, look at that. Look at that. It's so stunning. And this one is really a cream. Like, these are very much sort of like, this is a liquid, more liquid. They're like almost like whipped. Whereas this one feels very much, it's like a bit tackier to the touch. It's a bit softer. It doesn't dry down as quickly as the other two does. It's a much thicker formula. So I would say with this one, you're not going to necessarily get the same dry down effect that you get with all of these. But look at that. How stunning is that? And this is one of those shades, man. You just put it on your eye and you could either blend it out. I've done really intense, really graphic line, you know, eyeshadow with it and created a whole like wing. Or you can just blend it out and have this really beautiful olivey toned metallic smoky eye. And it looks amazing. I almost wore it today, but then I decided to use a shade in a palette that I'm going to talk about in a minute because I hadn't, for some reason, hadn't used the shade. And I was like, let me throw that in my eye. But this is what I was going to originally wear today because it's just, I mean, come on. And this is perfect for fall and winter when you're reaching for those tones. This is just perfect. Something that isn't a traditional eyeshadow. It's actually a highlighter, but I've used this on my eyes so many times just by itself with a little bit of mascara, and I just love the look of it, so I wanted to talk about it. And so that is my Kaleidos Prophecy highlighter. I'm going to swatch that. I'm going to do it on this hand here. So, and then I'm going to blend it out so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this is it. This is it blended out. Now just imagine that all over the eye. I mean, with mascara, and sometimes I would do it like with this and like a red lip or just like a really pretty soft gloss. So you can turn it up with what you pair it with, or you can turn it down. Look how stunning that is. I mean, this is my favorite highlighter. So I love it on my face. I put it on my cheeks sometimes, but this is what I like on my eyes. And I've done looks where I've done this all over. I've done this all over my eyes and I put it on my cheeks, and it's just stunning. And it's multi-chrome, so when you put it on, the more product you apply, the more multi-chrome it is. When you sheer it out and you just tap a little bit, you don't get quite as much of the dimension, and that's okay. Like if you just want a little bit, like a little soupçon, a little hint, you can just lightly apply it. But if you want to go in and you want your eyes to just be like reflection all over the place, just lights bouncing all off of your lids, go in a couple of times and then blend it out, and then you get, and I would say don't blend as much. If you're wanting more of the reflect, I would say tap more. If you want it to be softer like this, then you want to go in and blend like this. I put on my hand and I actually made the point of blending it like that. But when you don't do that, when you just apply it like that, this is what you actually get. So it looks really gold there, right? But then when you blend it out, you get more of the peach. You get it. It's such a stunning product. It is a powder highlighter, but I just say it's just, for me, it's such a multi-purpose product. And I've honestly, as much as I love this as a highlighter, I think I've used this more as an eyeshadow than I have as a highlighter. Because I mean. All right, now let's talk about eyeshadows in palettes that I use. I think I'll just go into the palette just for that shade. And I have to say, there are a lot of palettes that I do that with because I like to push palettes together. You know, I'll use one palette, dip in for 2 shades or 1 shade, and then I'll go into another palette. But I wanted to pull out palettes that I know for a fact that I've reached for just 1 shade and done a look with. So first up, let's talk about my Nars Climax palette. Now this palette is discontinued, but I think it's on at Nordstrom Rack, either on their website, I believe, is where a couple people have told me they found it. So if you are interested in this, try the Nordstrom Rack website or the Nordstrom Rack stores. You might be able to find it still. I really think they should have made this a permanent product. It is so stunning. This is what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. if you can see, and these are the shades. I'm going to show you what I have on my eyes, but it's not, of course, not a single shadow look, but I'll show you what I have on my eyes. So I went in with this shade in my crease, followed by this one, and then I deepened up my outer corner with that, and then applied that. And then on my lower lash line, I have this shade and this shade with a little bit of this on the outer lower half, or outer lower part of my lid. And then I put this one in my waterline. But let me show you the shade that I'm talking about that is the single shadow. It's this one. Look at that. I should have done my other finger so I can swatch on the proper hand. So let's do that now. Amira, jeez. All right. Do you see that? Look how pretty that is. I have applied this just by itself so many times. There was coming a point where I was like, Amira, you should probably use some of the other shades in the palette. Look at that. And again, this shadow is very similar to this one in the way that it applies. Now, you're not going to get the same amount of shimmer because this doesn't have that much shimmer in it. You can kind of see what I mean. Like, it has it, but it's not quite as, well, maybe you can't when it's blended out like that. But this has much more silver reflect. This doesn't really have that. It's more of a satin with just a tad more sheen than normal. And it's so stunning. First of all, let me just say, I've said it, I'm going to say it again. This palette is stunning, and I am so glad I purchased it because this has become a staple for me. I don't have a lot of what I call everyday makeup, but I would say if I were to categorize palettes that way, this would be in that category. All of the shades are stunning, all of them. The formula is amazing, but this one here is just, I mean, all over the lid, y'all. Come on, that's so stunning. And yeah, I just love this palette. So if you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend it. I also think the mattes in here are really great one and done shades as well. This one here, which is the one I said I put on this one here. I mean, look how pretty and soft that is. And I usually, if I decide to do more dimension or to go a little bit more ham, that's what I use in my crease. But and I had to stop myself from using that today because I use it all the time. And I was like, no, Amira, use some of the other stuff. Even though I know the other stuff is good. But the only shade that I haven't used yet, ironically, is the blue. It's a beautiful blue. And eventually I will get to it. But all these other shades I have now officially used. Next up in my little single shadows in a palette journey here is my Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. And the shade that I am going to mention is Agate, which functions very similarly to the Kaleidos highlighter, but it's just a bit more golden. Do you see that? Do you see how pretty that is? This is when you just want a little something, something on the eye. How stunning is that? And I've used this as a highlighter as well because that's how pretty it is on the skin. And it's so smooth. It's just, this palette, like even if you took out all of the like bright tones, these metallics over here, these really soft shades like Laurel, this is Agate, this is Laurel. These are just perfect for like, and I've used Laurel on its own as well. They're just beautiful single shadows. You can use them as toppers, you can use them on their own. I just think that this palette in and of itself has some really great single shadow options. And here is Laurel on its own. Look how soft that is. So when you just want something soft and pretty, and again, these both function really well on the cheeks as highlighters. So really good, secretly multifunctional palette. And then finally, I have my good old ABH Soft Glam. And I'm going to show you what it looks like so you can see how much I've used this palette. I don't hit pan very often on palettes, but this one I have hit pan on. So I have two single shadows in here that I want to talk about. And one is the one that has pan in it, and that is Sienna. Let me wipe my hand off. I have so many shadows on my hands right now. It's ridiculous. Okay, so here is Sienna. And this is why this has pan, because I just go in with this shade and I just deepen. And it's because, keep in mind, with ABH shadows, they're very pigmented. They're very rich. They can often apply to the eye deeper than they look in the pan or even when you swatch them out. So this may look really like, okay, but it's so intense with the brush. Like ABA shadows are the ones that I don't use I tend to not use my natural hair brushes with, or if I do, I'm very, very light in how I dip them into the pans because natural hair brushes tend to pick up more product in general. And because these are so soft and so pigmented, I tend to just use my synthetic brushes because I won't get as much product. It still blends and applies fine, but it just isn't as intense and I don't have as much product to try to like move around my eyelid. So yeah, this is Sienna. The other shade that I use a lot, and it's very similar to Agate in this way, is the shade Glistening. And that is Glistening. Oh, so stunning. And I was using Glistening before I got my Kaleidos palette because they're very similar in the way that they kind of apply. I would just say this one isn't as, it doesn't have a shift like that, but look at that. How stunning is that? So that is my little collection of my favorite single, like my favorite one and done shadows. I wouldn't say single, my favorite one and done shadows. Again, I have other cream and powder single shadows and things like that, but these are the shadows that when I'm really just truly sitting down and I want to do a quick look, a quick vibe, and I know that I can rely on them to give me what I'm looking for, these are the products that I reach for the most. Let me know in the comments down below, what are some of your favorite one and done shadows? If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye now.